Napoleon Hill documented 500 millionaires between 1908 and 1937. 90% of them practiced mental affirmations daily. Visualization, autosuggestion, applied faith. But when Hill cross-referenced the data, he discovered that 87% of people applying the exact same principles remained poor. The problem wasn't with the affirmation itself. Hill spent 3 years tracking 2 distinct groups. One group of 50 individuals combined mental affirmations with a specific physical action, while another 50 only used affirmations. The financial outcomes were starkly different. 42 people from the first group doubled their income within 18 months. Only 7 from the second group reported any change at all. Hill documented these findings in 1937. Have you ever noticed you know everything about visualization, autosuggestion, applied faith, but your bank account stays the same? You've been consuming personal development content for months, maybe years. You repeat affirmations, you visualize abundance, you write down goals, and when you look around, your financial life is exactly where it was. The pain isn't not knowing what to do. The pain is doing everything right and seeing no results. Napoleon Hill faced the same dilemma in 1933. He had spent 25 years documenting the principles of success: faith, burning desire, persistence, sexual transmutation, the power of the mastermind. He published The Law of Success in 1928. Thousands of people applied the principles, and the vast majority remained poor. Hill didn't understand why the method worked for Carnegie, Edison, Ford, and Schwab, and failed for the masses, until he began to document not what millionaires said to the subconscious, but what they showed the subconscious as proof of the affirmation. The difference lay in a bridge no one teaches. Between mental affirmation and physical result, there's an invisible mechanism. Without this mechanism, the subconscious treats the affirmation as fantasy. With this mechanism, the subconscious treats the affirmation as fact and begins to build the reality you program. You are about to master this mechanism. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years documenting 500 millionaires. Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Charles Schwab, John D. Rockefeller, Theodore Roosevelt. Men who started with no inheritance, no capital, no network, and built empires. Hill expected to find a unique method, a secret ritual, a visualization technique no one knew. What he found was the opposite. All of them used mental affirmation, all visualized, all applied autosuggestion. But there was a pattern before the affirmation, something they programmed into the subconscious that no one else did. They didn't start by asking the subconscious for results. They started by programming identity. Andrew Carnegie revealed this to Hill in 1908. Carnegie was 63 years old and was transferring to Hill the knowledge he had accumulated over 50 years in business. Hill asked, "What was the first mental affirmation you repeated when you decided to build a fortune?" Carnegie didn't say, "I will be rich." He didn't say, "I deserve abundance." He didn't say, "Money flows to me." And he said, "I'm someone who makes decisions even without having all the answers." Hill took note. He found it strange. He asked why Carnegie hadn't programmed his subconscious directly to attract money. Carnegie replied, "The subconscious doesn't respond to requests for results. It responds to the construction of identity. If you program your subconscious to want to be rich, it understands that you are not rich, so it keeps you where you are. If you program your subconscious to be someone capable of making quick decisions under pressure, it starts to build behaviors that sustain that identity, and these behaviors generate wealth as a byproduct." Hill documented this conversation in The Law of Success, chapter on self-confidence. But he still didn't fully understand the mechanism. So he began interviewing the other millionaires. Charles Schwab, president of Bethlehem Steel, repeated every morning, I am someone who manages large sums responsibly. Henry Ford repeated, I am someone who transforms ideas into physical products. Edwin Barnes, who started as Edison's assistant without pay, repeated, I am someone Edison can trust. None of them programmed their subconscious to attract money. All of them programmed their subconscious to sustain capacity. Hill spent 3 years cross-referencing these interviews, and he came to a conclusion that contradicts 90% of the personal development market. The subconscious builds what you are, not what you want. When you repeat, I want to be rich, the subconscious hears, I am not rich now. So it keeps you exactly where you are, because your current identity is someone who is not yet rich. When you repeat, I am someone who makes quick decisions, the subconscious hears a verifiable identity, something that can be proven with behavior. And it starts to seek out situations where that identity can be expressed. Hill named this principle in 1937, identity programming prior to the desire for results. He recorded, D. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between real experience and vividly imagined experience, but it only accepts as real that which can be sustained by repeated physical behavior. This changes everything, because it means the first question you need to ask your subconscious is not, how much money do I want? It's, who do I need to be to deserve to manage that amount? Carnegie told Hill, I didn't ask my subconscious to make me rich. I asked it to make me someone capable of managing 100 men, then 1,000, then 10,000. Wealth was a consequence of sustaining that identity under pressure. Say this out loud. The subconscious builds what you are, not what you want. This is the first principle, and you're going to apply it in the next 72 hours. But before that, you need to understand the second movement. Because programming identity without physical proof is the mistake that breaks 87% of people. Let's move on to the input command. What you just heard changes everything. Because now you know the problem was never the claim. It was the lack of physical proof. And there's one detail Hill kept repeating. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's why I built RichMind, a free community with 17 principles, a 21-day planner, daily verses, and people from all over the world applying this every single day. Link in the pinned comment. Join now. Edwin Barnes arrived in Orange, New Jersey in 1908. He was 23 years old, with no money in his pocket and one single decision: to work with Thomas Edison. He had no letter of recommendation. He had no technical training. He knew no one who knew Edison, but he had one thing no one else did: a verifiable subconscious entry command. Hill documented Barnes's case because he was the perfect example of the second principle, how to practically program the subconscious mind. Barnes didn't repeat, I will work with Edison. He didn't repeat, Edison will hire me. He repeated, every day for 10 minutes out loud, a specific phrase. I am someone Edison can trust, and that's why I arrive before everyone else and leave after everyone else. Do you notice the structure? It has 2 mandatory parts. 1, verifiable identity. I am someone Edison can trust. 2, behavior that proves that identity, and that's why I arrive before everyone else and leave after everyone else. Barnes wasn't asking his subconscious for Edison to hire him. He was programming his subconscious to act like someone who deserves Edison's trust, even before being hired. And the subconscious responded. When Barnes finally got a meeting with Edison, he didn't ask for a job. He offered to work without pay. Edison accepted, but put Barnes to do manual labor, not technical work. Most would have given up. Barnes kept arriving before everyone else. He kept leaving after everyone else. Not because he expected a promotion, but because he was sustaining the identity he had programmed into his subconscious. 5 years later, Edison launched the Ediphone, a revolutionary dictaphone. No one could sell it. Edison looked for someone who believed in the product enough to risk their reputation. He chose Barnes. Barnes sold millions of dollars worth of Ediphones over the next 5 years. He became Edison's partner. He built a fortune. Hill asked Barnes, "What was the exact moment Edison decided to trust you?" Barnes replied, "There was no moment. Edison observed me for 5 years. He saw that I maintained the same attitude whether I was being watched or not. He didn't trust me because I asked. He trusted me because my behavior proved that the trust was safe." This is the entry command. It has a fixed structure, and Hill documented this structure in Think and Grow Rich. In the chapter on applied faith, I am verifiable identity, and that's why action that this identity naturally takes. Real examples documented by Hill, Charles Schwab. I am someone who manages large sums, and that's why I record every penny that comes in and goes out. Henry Ford. I am someone who turns ideas into prototypes, and that's why I draw every day, even when I don't have the budget to build. Theodore Roosevelt. I am someone who leads under pressure, and that's why I make the first difficult decision of the day before 7 in the morning. Do you notice the pattern? The command never talks about the final result. It always talks about immediate behavior that proves the identity, because the subconscious doesn't believe what you wish for. It believes what you repeat with conviction anchored in action. Now comes the part that separates those who apply from those who only consume. You will create your entry command, and you will follow it for 21 days before asking your subconscious for any result. The structure is non-negotiable. I am verifiable identity, and that's why daily action that proves this identity. Applicable examples today. I am someone who attracts valuable opportunities, and that's why I record every opportunity that appears and how I respond to it. I am someone who manages resources well, and that's why I write down every expense of the day before going to sleep. I am someone who finishes what I start, and that's why I complete one pending task before starting any new task. Choose one identity, one daily action. Repeat the command out loud every day for 10 minutes, preferably right after waking up, when the subconscious is still malleable. And perform the physical action every day for 21 days. Hill recorded that 21 days is the minimum time for the subconscious to accept a new identity pattern as real, not as a temporary wish. But there's a catch. 90% of people create the command and stop at the verbal affirmation. They repeat it out loud every day, but they don't perform the corresponding physical action, and the subconscious discards the affirmation. Why? Because without physical proof, the affirmation sounds like fantasy, not identity. Say this out loud. My subconscious doesn't believe what I wish for. It believes what I repeat with conviction. The entry command is the first step, but a command without physical proof is just mental noise. Now you will understand the third principle, what Hill called physical evidence of identity. It is the movement that transforms affirmation into reality. Charles Schwab was 26 years old in 1888. He earned $30 a month as a junior engineer at Edgar Thomson Steel Works, Pennsylvania. A modest salary, a modest life, a predictable future. But Schwab did something no one else around him did. Every day, when he received his weekly pay, $7.50, he physically set aside 75 cents and put it in an envelope marked Opportunity Capital. 10% every payday, without exception. His colleagues thought it was ridiculous. 75 cents built nothing. Schwab wasn't going to get rich saving 10% of a junior engineer's salary. But Schwab wasn't saving to get rich. He was proving to his subconscious that he was someone who manages large sums responsibly. Napoleon Hill documented this behavior 30 years later, when Schwab was already president of Bethlehem Steel and one of the wealthiest men in America. Hill asked, "Why did you set aside 10% when the amount was irrelevant?" Schwab replied, "The amount was irrelevant, but the pattern was not. I was teaching my subconscious that someone who manages large sums always sets aside capital before spending, regardless of the size of the sum. When I started earning $100,000 a year, continuing to set aside 10% felt natural, because my subconscious had already accepted it as an identity, not an effort." This is the third principle, physical evidence of identity. The subconscious does not distinguish scale, it distinguishes pattern. When you affirm, "I am someone who manages large sums, but cannot manage the 300 Rs you have in your account right now," the subconscious discards the affirmation. Why? Because there is no physical evidence to support the asserted identity. The subconscious works like a judge. It doesn't believe what you say. It believes what you prove with repeated behavior. Hill documented this principle in Think and Grow Rich in the chapter on autosuggestion. He wrote, "The subconscious mind translates into physical reality only those thoughts which have been emotionalized and mixed with faith." And faith in this context is not religious belief. It is the certainty generated by accumulated physical evidence. Translate this to today. If you repeat, "I am someone who attracts valuable opportunities," but do not record the small opportunities that appear every day, your subconscious interprets, "You are not someone who attracts opportunities. You are someone who ignores opportunities," and it keeps you exactly where you are. If you repeat, "I am someone who finishes what I start, but leave 3 unfinished projects in a drawer," your subconscious interprets, "You are not someone who finishes, you are someone who abandons under pressure," and it stops delivering situations that require completion. Hill called this the disconnection between affirmation and action. It is the point where 90% of people fail. They create the identity command. They repeat it aloud every day, but they don't anchor it with physical proof. So the subconscious treats the affirmation as a wish, not as a fact. And a wish without physical evidence disappears in 48 hours. The physical proof doesn't have to be big. It needs to be daily. Schwab set aside 75 cents. It wasn't a life-changing amount, but it was a pattern that programmed the subconscious. Henry Ford drew prototypes every day, even when he didn't have the budget to build them. These weren't drawings that generated immediate profit, but they proved to Ford's subconscious that he was someone who transforms ideas into physical products. Edwin Barnes arrived at Edison's factory before everyone else, not because Edison paid overtime, but because it proved to Barnes's subconscious that he was someone Edison can trust. Do you see the pattern? The physical action doesn't have to generate immediate results. It needs to sustain the identity you've programmed into your subconscious. Now for the practical application. You've already created your input command in the previous arc. I am identity, and therefore action. Now you will choose one daily physical proof, a maximum of 5 minutes to execute, that anchors this identity. Examples. If the command is, I am someone who manages resources well, the physical proof is to write down every expense of the day in a notebook before bed. It doesn't matter if you spent 5 RIAs or 500. The pattern of recording is what programs the subconscious. If the command is, I am someone who attracts valuable opportunities, the physical proof is to write down every day an opportunity of any size that appeared and how you responded to it. It could be a networking opportunity, to learn something new, to help someone. The pattern of recognizing opportunity is what programs the subconscious. If the command is, I am someone who finishes what I start, the physical proof is to complete one pending task before starting any new task for the day. The size of the task doesn't matter. The pattern of completing is what programs the subconscious. Physical proof has 3 non-negotiable rules. 1. Maximum 5 minutes to execute. If it takes longer, the subconscious associates the proof with unsustainable effort. 2. Mandatory daily repetition for 21 days, without exception. 3. Physical or digital record of execution. The subconscious trusts visible patterns, not memory. Hill tested this with 50 people in 1934. He asked them to create an identity command and daily physical proof. He followed up for 18 months. 42 out of 50 reported a measurable increase in income or concrete opportunities. When Hill asked what had changed, the answer was always the same. I started to recognize opportunities that were always there, but that I ignored before. The subconscious doesn't create opportunities out of nothing. It recognizes opportunities that already exist, but that you couldn't see because your previous identity blocked your vision. Say this out loud. An affirmation without action is just a letter that was never sent. Physical proof is the stamp. Without a stamp, the letter doesn't arrive. But there's one last layer, because even with an identity command and physical proof, 87% of people still break down at some point. You need to know where the trap is and why the subconscious discards the programming even when you do everything right. Now you get it. The trap lies in unstructured programming, and that's precisely why I created the Mental Reprogramming Planner, 21 days of protocol based on Hill and neuroscience, daily identity commands, recorded physical proof, a checklist for each principle applied. This isn't just another theoretical course. It's the system that transforms affirmation into verifiable action. The link is in the pinned comment of this video. R.U. Darby was 28 years old when he bought a gold mine in Colorado in 1893. He had read about the gold rush, studied maps, consulted geologists, and invested all his savings in the mine concession, and he found gold. For the first 3 months, Darby extracted rich veins. He paid off his debts, reinvested in equipment, and hired more men. The mine was producing. Then the vein dried up. Darby dug deeper. Nothing. He changed the tunnel's direction. Nothing. He invested 3 more months. No gold appeared. He repeated every day, "I am someone who finds gold. I deserve this wealth. I will find the next vein." But after 6 months with no results, Darby gave up. He sold the mine concession for a few $100s to cover part of his debts. He returned home, defeated. The buyer who took over the mine, an engineer named Patterson, hired a geologist for a new analysis. The geologist mapped the geological faults, calculated the probable trajectory of the vein, and found gold, less than 3 feet from where Darby had stopped digging. Patterson extracted more than $1 million from that mine over the next 5 years. Napoleon Hill documented this case in Think and Grow Rich, because Darby made the most common mistake. He had the correct mental command, but he lacked the physical proof to sustain that command under pressure. Darby repeated, "I am someone who finds gold every day," but he never created a daily physical pattern that anchored that identity, something small, repeatable, verifiable. He visualized, he affirmed, he believed, but when the first resistance appeared, his subconscious had no accumulated physical evidence to sustain the belief. So it interpreted the failure as confirmation that Darby was not someone who finds gold. He was someone who wished to find gold, and desire without physical evidence collapses under pressure. Hill identified this pattern in 90% of the people he studied. They applied auto-suggestion. They repeated affirmations. They visualized success, but they stopped at the mental command. They never created the physical bridge that connected the affirmation to reality. And the subconscious, without accumulated physical evidence, treated the affirmation as fantasy. Hill wrote in 1937, "Faith is the starting point of all accumulation of wealth, but faith without works is dead faith." And works, in this context, does not mean heroic effort. It means a daily physical pattern that proves to the subconscious that the affirmed identity is real, not imaginary. Darby visualized gold, but he did not create a physical pattern that sustained the identity of someone who finds gold. If he had created, for example, the habit of studying geology 30 minutes a day, or manually mapping the terrain's faults every afternoon, or recording every geological clue he found, even when it didn't lead to immediate gold, his subconscious would have accumulated physical evidence that Darby was someone who finds gold, not someone who wants to find gold. And when the vein dried up, Darby would have kept digging, because the subconscious, reinforced by months of accumulated physical evidence, would have sustained the identity under pressure. This is the point of failure. 90% of people make a strong mental command, but zero daily physical evidence. So when the first resistance appears, a client cancels, a project doesn't take off, a bill doesn't get paid, the subconscious discards the affirmed identity because there is no physical pattern to sustain it. And the person returns exactly to where they started. You've experienced this. You've started a goal with total conviction. You visualized, you affirmed, you wrote it down, you felt that this time it would work, and 2 weeks later, the motivation was gone. Not because you didn't want it, but because the subconscious never accepted the new identity as real. It treated it as a temporary desire, and when pressure appeared, it discarded it. Hill recorded that this is the difference between those who build wealth and those who spend their lives trying to build wealth. Those who build program identity plus daily physical proof. Those who don't build program desire plus zero physical evidence. And the subconscious only responds to the first pattern. This connects directly to the pain of the first block. You've been consuming personal development content for months. You've heard about visualization, affirmation, law of attraction, autosuggestion. You've applied them many times, but your bank account doesn't change. Why? Because you are doing the mental command, but not the physical proof. You repeat, "I deserve abundance." But you don't record every expense of the day. You repeat, "I am disciplined." But you don't complete one pending task before starting another. You repeat, "I attract opportunities." But you don't write down the small opportunities that appear every day. And the subconscious discards the affirmation, because affirmation without physical proof is just noise. Hill tested this with 100 people in 1934. He divided them into 2 groups of 50. Group A, mental command plus daily physical proof for 21 days. Group B, isolated mental command for 21 days. 18 months later, Hill cross-referenced the financial results. Group A, 42 out of 50 people reported a measurable increase in income or concrete opportunity. Group B, 7 out of 50 reported any change. And when Hill investigated the 7 exceptions in Group B, he discovered that all of them, unknowingly, had created some kind of spontaneous physical proof, a change in routine, a new habit, a repeated daily pattern that the subconscious interpreted as evidence of the affirmed identity. Hill's conclusion was direct. The subconscious is not motivated by words, it is convinced by repeated physical patterns, and a physical pattern, to be accepted as identity, needs at least 21 days of consecutive repetition. Say this out loud: if my body does not replicate what my mind affirms, my subconscious discards the affirmation. Now you understand why 87% of people who apply Napoleon Hill's principles remain poor. They apply half of the principle. Mental command without physical proof. and the subconscious rejects it. But when you apply both movements, identity command plus daily physical proof for 21 days, the subconscious has no choice. It accepts the new identity as real, and it begins to build the reality that sustains that identity. Not because you deserve it, not because you visualized it, but because you proved, with repeated physical patterns, that the affirmed identity is fact, not fantasy. This is exactly what separates those who master the subconscious from those who are dominated by it. Now tell me something. How many times have you repeated an affirmation without giving your subconscious a single piece of physical proof? Leave your answer in the comments, because what comes next will show you exactly how Hill structured the daily proof protocol that those 500 millionaires used. And there's one detail he recorded in 1937 that changes everything about how you program identity. An identity command plus daily physical proof programs who you are in your subconscious. But Napoleon Hill documented a third principle that 95% of people ignore, the principle that programs what the subconscious should look for in its surrounding environment. Without this third principle, the subconscious builds identity, but doesn't see where to apply it. You become someone who attracts opportunities, but you keep passing by opportunities without recognizing them. Hill called this the principle of the definite aim. It's the difference between affirming "I deserve prosperity" and giving your subconscious a specific address where that prosperity should appear. Edwin Barnes didn't ask for success. He asked for a partnership with Edison. Andrew Carnegie didn't ask for wealth. He asked for the ability to manage 1,000 men. The subconscious doesn't respond to vague desire. It responds to exact coordinates. Next video in the series, how to translate generic desire into a target the subconscious can map, and why 90% of affirmations fail because they lack coordinates. Mastering the subconscious isn't about affirming louder, it's about proving to the subconscious, through repeated physical patterns, that the identity you claim is real. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years documenting 500 millionaires. He found the pattern that separates the two groups, those who build wealth program identity before outcome. They anchor identity with daily physical proof. Those who don't build wealth program desire without evidence, and the subconscious discards it. The wealth you deserve doesn't come from visualizing a full bank account. It comes from sustaining, for 21 consecutive days, the identity of someone capable of managing that account when it appears. You are no longer someone who confuses affirmation with action. You now know the mechanism Hill documented in 1937, and which 87% of people never apply. Identity command, daily physical proof, 21 days of repetition. This is what programs the subconscious. The rest is just noise. In the next 72 hours, you will do the following. First, create your identity command with the non-negotiable structure. I am verifiable identity, and therefore action that identity naturally takes. Second, choose one daily physical proof, maximum 5 minutes, that anchors this identity. It could be logging every expense, noting opportunities that arise, completing a pending task before starting another. Whatever is verifiable and repeatable. Third, repeat the command aloud every day for 10 minutes, preferably upon waking, and execute the physical proof every day for 21 days without exception. Fourth, record the execution in a notebook or app. The subconscious trusts visible patterns, not memory. No shortcuts, no skipping a day, no changing the physical proof halfway through. 21 days, command plus action, identity plus evidence. After these 21 days, you can start asking the subconscious for results. Before that, any request for results is discarded, because there is no identity basis to support the request. This is the secret Carnegie revealed to Hill in 1908, that Hill documented for 20 years, that 42 out of 50 people successfully applied in 1934, and that you now hold in your hands. Grab a sheet of paper, write down the identity command, choose the physical proof, execute for 21 days. Do this before you go to sleep tonight, not tomorrow, today. Because the subconscious you have now was programmed by the person you were yesterday. If you want different results tomorrow, you need to start programming a different identity now. Say this aloud one last time. The subconscious builds what you are, not what you want. You will no longer be rich only in mind and poor in life. You will build the wealth you deserve, because you now know how to master the only mechanism that separates desire from reality. The subconscious programmed with verifiable identity and accumulated physical evidence. And that no one can ever take from you.